Today we are going to learn how to override the value of the dimension in Revit with both textual and numerical value. First thing we do is we just add the regular dimension and we just pick one line and the next line and we just add the standard dimension. To override it, we click on the number of dimension and the panel of the override will appear. First option we have is to use actual value, and that is the default option, but if you want to override the dimension with text, we will check this replace with text option. And then here you can just add any text you want. For example, let's call this the width of the room. And once we click OK, you can see that my number was replaced with this text. The other options you have, we will just return this to actual value. The other option you have is to also place some text above or below the dimension. We can just add this text to below instead of replacing it. For example, we can just insert this, and as you can see, this way we can just add this text anywhere we want. We can also go above, and I will just add the same text above just so you can see how that looks. And it looks like this, so you can basically play around with this. You can also add prefix and suffix, whatever you want to use, like so. And as you can see, we get this very textual dimension. We have all sorts of text on it. So basically this exercise was meant to show you that you can just play around this dimension however you want. But if you want to replace it with the number, it gets a little bit tricky. I do not recommend you do this very often because it can get very difficult to handle later. I will explain why. Basically, if I want to replace this dimension with some other, if I just insert some other number here, let's say we made some big mistake in the middle of the deadline and we don't want to actually move the wall, but we just want to fake our dimension. And we try to do this with the number and we insert the number, but when we click OK, we see that we get this error. Basically, in some legit way, Revit will not let you override this dimension, but there is a workaround around this. So when this appears, what you do is you right click with your mouse on this empty space for the text and you use this insert Unicode control character option. Now many of this will work well. Basically I'm used to using this nods one. It's the one I know will always work, so I will just use this nominal European digit shapes option. And then once I use this, basically this means that it will convert your number to some other system. And once I click OK, we can see that the number has changed. Obviously, this is the thing you use for faking the numbers. And like I said, it is not a good thing to do in Revit because you do want to have the clear dimension. You do want to have the dimension that points to exact and correct dimension. Another reason why it's not good to do this, why it's actually very bad to use this option, is as you can see when I select this wall and I move it a little bit, I'll just click delete here, we can see that this dimension stayed the same. Basically, it kept the override it had, even though we have changed this wall a lot. This is not the correct dimension in any way anymore. So it's very tricky because as you can see now it's 72 instead of 34, and it's very bad because if you do this several times and then you move your walls, you move your elements, change your project, you will essentially forget about this, but these values will stay overridden, which can cause a lot of the problems basically. basically you are creating the situation where you cannot keep track anymore. So as I said, I do not recommend using this option, but sometimes it might come in handy if you are in a real big rush or you don't have any more options, you don't have time to change your projects, for example. So it can be a handy hack if you make sure you are conscious about what you have done. If you enjoy learning with us, take a look at our architectural course through the link below. With 20 hours of structured video lessons, it's designed to help beginners master Revit step by step. To support your progress, we've included assignments with each lesson, plus the opportunity to ask questions and receive guidance directly from the instructor whenever you need it. This way, you're not just watching tutorials, you're actively learning, practicing, and improving with guidance every step of the way. Thank you for watching.